Oh my gosh, here we are again on this beautiful fall day with another episode of Inspired Good Fat Life. And I am so excited today for many things, but one of the reasons is new magazine. We have this beautiful new magazine with this lovely cover that's just full of heart-shaped?
Heart-shaped food full of awesome fats.
Awesome good fats. And yes, and so you too can have your own copy. Go to goodfatlife.com and get a subscription, and it's also there digitally. And the other reason I'm so excited is my very special guest today is Brian Truskowski.
One of those fun long Polish names, 10 letters, 3 consonants. Most people mess it up, so it's all good.
Yeah, well, the reason that my last name is Richards instead of Truskowski is because my husband actually changed his name when he was in the military.
To Richards.
From Truskowski. Oh. Because he just got so tired of having to always spell it and be mispronounced.
The plight of a Polak, then I tell you what.
Right. It is.
And I can say that, and I know it's not PC, but I am, so I can get away with it.
Right. So it's just, it's interesting how names are, but my maiden name is Thuringer, and I always had to spell it. It's always mispronounced, but I was so attached to it that I couldn't give it up. So my name is Thuringer Richards, right? There we go. So people still have to spell it. So anyways, welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
Tell us about you. I'm just so excited to hear. There's so many things.
Well, I'm a broad and dynamic individual, and you've seen me on I've been on many shows here at Speakeasy. But what I'll say is, what we're going to talk about, we had a preemptive call last night. My current iteration of career is I'm a bodywork practitioner, been so for about 11 years, studied at the Ann Arbor Institute of Massage Therapy. But current day, what I'm offering, and I've been offering it for better part of 6 or so years, is a course called the Self-Care Massage Workshop. And it sounds radical, but the idea is I'm teaching you how to massage you without any sort of loose framework, but getting people into their bodies. And one thing, I think yoga is great because it teaches people. I was actually talking with my housemate about this last night. Yoga is great because it teaches people how to be in their bodies. However, it's through the constraint of when I'm telling you to do it.
Got it. Yep.
And I think yoga is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a wonderful modality, and I think it does a lot of healing, and it's done work for me. However, I'm sort of the don't tell me what to do kind of person. I'm a double Aries, okay? And just calling it out. So for me, I love to help empower people. And so I have this saying that I came up with many, many years ago. Part of my mission is to lead a horse to water, teach him how to fish.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Yeah.
It's a pairing of parables. Right, yes. Right. I eloquently did it, because the flip side of it is I can shove the horse's head underwater, but he's going to only be blowing bubbles and upsetting me. Right. And I cleared this with a wonderful friend, Penny Wilson, who does equine therapy. She's like, yeah, when I take my horses down in the water, they just play with the fish. They don't drink. They just get lost and distracted by the fish, and they don't actually drink the water. So it's funny how my analogy came true. So with that, I'm providing people tools so that they understand how to take care of themselves in the long run, ideally.
And that is essential. That is the core of Good Fat Life.
Right.
And then you could say, and you asked me, how does good fat relate to self-massage? Well, they're bring a horse to water, teach him to fish, right? It's perfect. It's so clear.
I love it. So with that, how this class came to be, I was maybe 4 years into my practice, and I often offer homework to my clients to help them take care of themselves, because I am definitely not, and this is something that my direction forward, I'm not a fix you sort of client or practitioner. I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to save you. I'm here to help empower you, because I need my clients to be invested in their health and well-being and their progress. For the first 6 or 8 years of my practice, I was being that fix save practitioner, and it burned me out, and I was ready to walk away from the industry. And so what I found was if the people who I loved working with the most were the people who weren't relying on me as that Band-Aid It's taking away my energy, taking away my power, and depleting me by me constantly having to give, right? Working in reciprocity and support is great. So that's how the massage course came, was as I was teaching homework to one of my clients years ago. And she goes, well, do you teach this? I was like, yeah, do you? She goes, no. Do you teach this? Like broader. I'm like, I never thought of that, right? So that's what sort of inspired it. And then I knew a friend of mine at the time was teaching through the Ann Arbor District Library. And my practice was started the first 8 years were in Ann Arbor, first 6-8 years were in Ann Arbor. And she was teaching workshops at the Ann Arbor District Library. I'm like, can I get on in that? So she connected me with Aaron, the program director at the time at the Ann Arbor District Library. And initially it started off as a 3-part series, like head and neck, upper body, lower body. And I taught it that way for a few iterations. But what was fascinating is all the different programs of self-empowerment and personal growth that I taught, she always wanted me to repeat this massage workshop. And she said, because people want the hands-on practical knowledge.
Yes.
And not the, as we kind of said on the phone, people want hands-on practical. People love esoteric and spiritual premises and philosophy, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, they want something tangible they can walk away with that can create direct impact.
And that is exactly why Good Fat Life was even started, is because at the end of the day, that stuff is everywhere, right? But how do you actually do it? What thing can I do right now that's going to make my body feel better?
Right. And so
that I'll do.
That you'll do.
Right.
And that's the thing is oftentimes people are more than happy to and will go out of their way to invest in others, but not themselves. And there's this weird thing that I don't understand, and I'm part of it, right? As an empath, as an intuitive, as a healing practitioner, it's easy for me to help other people. But when I have to turn the lens on myself, it's often difficult. I think we all struggle with this, right? It's not just
right.
me.
And what I've learned is it's just not physically, it's mentally, it's emotionally, it's in our business. We'll help other people be successful in their companies and not do the same things for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, to have that accountability or that partner that helps us take care of ourselves is huge.
Right. And I've done some deep diving into this, and it's a virtue of a lot of religious and spiritual practices to not be selfish, but to give, right? But they often give two sides to this. It's like, well, we must serve and not be selfish, but at the same time they say, you can't serve from an empty cup, right? So it's coming from two different points, and I don't mean Christian, I mean all of them, right? And so we want to serve others, serve God, serve others, and at the same time, live in this asceticism, right? Don't take care of yourself. But if I'm depleted and I'm not healthy, how am I going to serve others healthily?
Well,
I can't.
you can't. But there's also that give and receive, right?
The reciprocity.
The reciprocity, and that is very prevalent in lots of the religions and in self-care. But if everybody's giving and nobody's allowing the receiving, then it doesn't work, right? The model's broken.
And I had and I won't go into the details, but I had an experience one time where I was interacting with this person and I got the message to just receive. He's serving me in this moment. I'm like, oh, okay. And I did. And at the end of the interaction, that human had a very transformational experience. So he was feeling like he was lacking purpose and lacking desire in the world. And then by serving me, all of a sudden reinvigorated him. Right before my eyes. I'm like, wow, okay, that's the power of receiving. It's like giving that to someone else.
Right. It's a joy.
It is.
As one of my friends says, don't be a blessing suck. Right? By not receiving gracefully.
I mean, I'm horrible at receiving.
So
I get it.
So I get it. Well,
so going back.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going back to the course. Is that where we were leading this?
Yeah.
So the course has gone through many, many iterations over the 8 or so, 6 or what I don't know, years that I've taught it. And now it's compacted into 1 hour and a half course. And the first half of it is me getting people into their bodies and having them move their bodies as if they've never been in it before. It sounds radical, but in short, I take people joint by joint, section the body through and have them move it as if they've never been in your body before, right? Play, like move your hand and wrist with curiosity, like, what can this do? Can it do that? Can it do this? Can it in and out and crunch and whatever, and not judge it, but like be curious, like, I've never done this before. And it's evoking the mind of the child, the curiosity, the play, right? And I will always start with the fingers, hands, wrist, shoulder. And I never tell people what to do. I just say, move it and be curious. What can it do? What does not feel good? What feels awesome? What feels, I don't know, and just be curious. And then after about a minute of that, I have them put their arm down and I ask, what do you notice? Freedom, vitality, ease, aliveness, flow, right? How's the other arm feel? Dead, still, numb, right? Full of discomfort. And I said, did I tell you to do anything specific? No. I just told you to get in your body and explore it with curiosity.
And you gave them it sounds like you provide a way that's easy access.
Right.
Right? It's not like, how am I going to do this? I have to overthink it.
Right. You don't have to overthink it. And what's funny is I was reviewing my notes for this program before I taught it last go around. And at the top header, it says, this is a wonderful introduction for free-form static dance, which I was like, hilarious, because you had Joy Detling on. And I told this to Joy, and Joy wants me to do it at some point in the beginning just to get people into their bodies. But the idea is if anyone ever goes to Joy's ecstatic dance Sunday mornings at Michelle's Academy of Dance, I'm plugging because I go regularly, is if you ever go, what I teach is a perfect model to operate the whole dance through. Just be curious and move, and how does my body feel? And that doesn't feel good, but if I keep doing it, it feels great. And you look goofy, but you're exploring your own body, right? So I'm giving you the keys to your own car sort of thing, right? And you're like, this is great. This isn't fun. And how can I explore this and become more empowered in my own body, right?
Right. So that I started taking Pilates, and I do it 4 times a week now, which I am so proud of myself. But one of the things that I'm having so much fun with is having the experience of muscles and movement that I just didn't know was there. There's little tiny muscles, right?
All over.
And I'm feeling a sense of power and vibrance that I just have never felt before. And I know it's because I'm exploring what's actually going on in my body, or what's available to me in my body.
And what's fun is a little known thing. The shoulder, not only the most mobile joint in the entire body, has 17 muscles that articulate it.
I mean, who knew?
That's a lot.
Right, that's a lot.
A lot.
And how many do we use just by daily routine? Do we
More
use
than likely
all
all of them? Yeah, and that's the thing, is there's a lot going on. And so, quick plug for my bodywork practice is, I do therapeutic work, and most of my focus is with my forte. My focus is shoulders, neck, upper body, jaw, TMJ, clenching. So that's where my focus is in my practice. So if anyone is listening who looks for that, I have a practice here in Brighton at Kimberly Lauren's Bodywork Studio. Just south of here on Grand River.
And we'll put all of the links. We'll put all the links in the
show notes. Yeah. Why I love to work with, there's just something I love about the upper body. I don't know what it is. Just in school, I formed a passion for it. And I've studied, myofascial therapy, neuromuscular therapy, and sports massage as like the therapeutic side. And then from the more esoteric, I've studied a whole bunch of energy modalities. And then I've also studied craniosacral therapy through Upledger Institute. So there's a broad dynamic that I'm offering for people who know all that. If not, you can look it up. I'm sorry, it takes a lot to explain. But it's a broad dynamic of what I'm offering, right? And so I don't even ask my clients to disrobe. I don't use lotion or oil, right? It's more like therapeutic, hands-on specific to that, right? And so when I teach these classes, this is a great just segue into teaching the massage part. I'm not, and actually this came up the first time in all these years. Someone's like, are we going to use oil to massage yourself in this class? I'm like, no, because I don't use it in my practice, so I can show you how to work on yourself without that. If you want, once you learn it, want to go home and do it, that's great. But that's not my focus or intention. It's more like a sports massage you do at the gym, or you're sitting at your desk. A lot of times what I offer, a lot of my clients are desk jockeys, so I can give them stuff to do in their office without, right?
Yeah. Or just you can take 5 minutes and go, my neck needs some love.
Right. And so the idea is, and that's the other thing, love. And that was the other key component. One time when I was teaching this, I had a student in the class who was, and this is no guff to that, but an Ashtangi yogi. So, they're very intense, right? It's about pushing through the walls and pushing through the walls of intensity to get to the other side. And that's great. If that's your focus, awesome. But I was teaching people how to release like the knots, the trigger points, whatever you want to call it in the body. And I always say, do it with love, right? And so what I suggest is, you find that spot, if you're listening or if you want to, you find that spot, you hold it, and don't give it a lot of pressure, just give it intention, maybe a little bit of pressure, but then use your breath to breathe, focus into that spot and breathe it out of your body, right? Like release it.
So go do an example.
Right? For example, everyone's got something up here in their upper shoulders, right? Everyone in the entire world, it's not just you, the whole world's got the weight on their shoulders, everyone, I promise you. So find that one spot in your neck and be gentle, love yourself, gentle on the human, I say, gentle on the human. It's not about hurting, treat yourself as you would your own inner child, right? Love yourself. And so you find that spot. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is have a good amount of pressure, and using your breath, breathe into that and then blow it out. Meaning, like, don't blow it into your belly, don't blow it into your feet, like exhaust it out of your body. And often my point of focus for this is when you inevitably kick something with your foot or you jam your finger on something, you're using that right? It's that sort of idea. You're like blowing it out. We innately do this, right? So hold that spot. And as you're doing it, using that intention as a point of focus meditation, breathe into that spot, breathe it out. But also as you're holding it, have an intention of love with it. And with my spot, it's just disappearing just from giving it that loving attention. I don't know what your experience is, Sherry.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, okay.
Right. And so it's like, this is radical, and so when people say, do you do deep tissue? I said, yes, no, because most people think we're going to get in there and make you scream. And it's just like, that's not what it's about. That's abusing the body, right? It's causing trauma in the body to release trauma. And that's like not good. And so for me, oftentimes I hear people, well, you can push harder. I'm like, I know, but that's not my intention. Like, I can go a little bit deeper, but my intention is not to bring people to that, what's it called? Where they brace.
Brace, okay.
If my clients are bracing, I've gone too deep. If you're bracing when you're working on yourself, you're going too deep.
Okay.
Because most people, no pain, no gain, kid, come on, let's do this, right? It's like, it's not about that. It's about loving yourself. And this particular student I mentioned, she's like, yeah, this isn't going away. And I said, okay, are you loving it or are you hating it? She frowned, closed her eyes, and 10 seconds later smiled and opened her eyes and said, there you go, right? Because it was like that, I'm going to force this thing to happen. This is like, how about we be gentle on our bodies, right? Like, there's so many, yes, there is a time to push and there's a time to persevere and push through the pain for whatever. But when we're doing self-care, like, what if we flip that around, right?
I read a book with Eckhart Tolle once, and it was talking about pain bodies.
Yep.
And I was having some real pain in my neck and stuff. And it'd go into a spasm. But after reading that, it was kind of like, okay, invite the pain to the party, love it up. And I was dumbfounded with just what you're saying. It's just how it changes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a radical thing because it's counter to culture.
Right. It's, and because so you have to kind of like talk yourself through it. Okay, we're having a party here.
Right.
Let's relax.
And something I want to add too is another part of my practice that I am grateful to see more practitioners getting on board with, because for the first 8 years of my practice, I felt like in Ann Arbor or wherever I talked about it, I got the deer in the headlights. But a lot of chronic long-term pain has a component that needs to be addressed that's either energetic or emotional in nature. And it's funny, I was like, now, right? But for the first 8 years of my practice, people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so with that, you just used the word pain in my neck, right?
Right.
So I flip this and I say, who is being the pain in your neck?
Right.
Right. And someone goes, oh, no. It's like, yeah, that. Once you look at that and move that through on whatever that means is, I'm not your therapist. I don't need to know the details, right? But if you need to express to me in a confidential private session as we're working, I'm happy to hear what you ever need to emote or express, to cry, to emote, whatever needs to come out in the session. or with yourself. Allow whatever that comes through. And as I often tell people, and I have to remind a lot of my friends that are on this path, looking for the story or the narrative behind the pain body is unnecessary and unproductive.
Mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I
so
do.
for the people maybe,
but yeah,
the
but
people
tell me
maybe
more.
don't
Tell me
understand what I'm
more.
talking about is so often if I'm feeling a pain in my body somewhere or an emotion is coming up, be it sadness, anger, fear, shame, guilt, whatever, so often our mind wants to go into the where is this coming from? What does it mean?
Mm.
And the reality is it doesn't matter. And I'm using that maybe not lightly, but what I mean by that is, well, it doesn't mean that it matters whatever caused that trauma. People who have been abused, I'm sorry you've been abused. We've all had some pretty horrible things happen in our lives. I'm not discrediting our past. I'm not discrediting how that showed up. And what I want to say is, as the emotion is showing up in the body, let it go through as if you're going into like the meditation idea. Watch it as the clouds are just passing through. Let it come through, because if you try to anchor in whatever story or emotion or trauma this is that's in the process of releasing, you're almost holding it back, right? Mm-hmm. You're not giving it that space to flow through. Right. And so it's not always easy, but if the imagery comes up, the memory comes up, let that be the impetus for that emotion to move through sadness, through anger, through whatever the emotion is, right? Because release, there's many forms of release that our body does. So let's pull back from humans and look at animals. If an animal has a traumatic experience or something, whatever, they shake, right? Their whole body shakes. We as humans have basically defaulted that out of our systems for whatever reason. I am a human that is when on the practitioner table of whoever, I am twitching like crazy because my body's discharging. We are energetic beings because our brain and our nervous system runs on electrical impulses. So we're energetic by nature, right? This isn't woo, this is science, people. And
yes, it's our design.
It's our design.
Yep. Okay.
And so with that, the shaking is the discharging, letting go of it. So as my dear friend often says without fail, laughing, shaking, crying, yawning, burping, farting, screaming, whatever is form of release, is form of discharge. So oftentimes if we see someone there yawning, like, oh, well, they're bored. It's like, no, the body's just discharging, and all of these have subsets of what they represent. But that's the broad scale of it. So if you see, like, oftentimes in sessions, sometimes I'll burp or I'll sneeze when I'm working on a client, and they go, oh, it's just like, no, like your body's not wanting to let something go. So it's kind of like coming through me, and I'm being the avenue or the conduit that it's coming out through, right? I have one friend who's
so fascinating.
Who's a bodywork practitioner. He burps through the entire sessions, like deep bellowing burps, right? Sort of thing. And so, as certain practitioners, we have to manage our own energy and our clients' energy as they're letting things go. And sometimes if they're not aware, bringing their awareness to this, right?
Because they're probably not aware.
May not be, right? And so, I mean, these are many deeper conversations, but does that make sense?
It totally does. But if you had... But it's because I've been studying this for years. Okay. Right? So if we were this is the first time I had this conversation, I could be going, oh,
he's crazy.
Yeah. It's like, what the heck?
Call them in the white coats. Call them in the white coats, quick, before he leaves.
And it's fascinating. It's so fascinating how much we don't know about our own bodies.
Oh, they're infinite. It's infinitely deep. And so I'm not sharing this with you for this to be an education for you to be a master at it in this moment. I'm just sharing it that these are basic premises that, I would say, and I've been saying this a long time since I got into the field, most people don't know their bodies or want to know their bodies below their chin. We're this floating head that has this ambiguous thing beneath it that we have to deal with, and we go to other people to sort it out, not for us to sort out, right? We acquiesce and give away our own power to our own bodies to other, quote, professionals who think they know it. How many times have you heard, oh, I went to the doctor today. Like, well, how are you doing? Well, he says that I'm fine. It's like, great. He says you're fine. How do you feel? Well, I don't know. He says that I'm fine. All the numbers say that I'm okay. Well, How do you feel?
Right.
Well, I don't feel that good. Okay, that's the starting point here.
Right. Right. No, it is. I had a physical therapist say to me once that that was one of the things that was so fascinating to her is how much we give away to somebody else
Quickly.
quickly. It's like, just we don't want to take responsibility, and I don't know why that is.
It's
maybe just 'cause
easier.
but we're not trained from the time we're tiny. We brush our teeth, right? Because well, you like to think we're taught to brush our teeth. So we do those things that are ingrained into us as teeny weeny ones. But if it's not,
Well, and this is evolving out as we evolve as a society, but it's always been the top-down hierarchical model of allopathic medicine. And I'm sorry, doctors, but it's been a top-down hierarchy. I am subservient to the healthcare practitioner. And I'm watching it even float into, like I was saying, like I have people coming, you're going to fix me, right? So it's like, no, like, yes, I will work with you to help your body let go of what needs to let go of. But at the end of the day, you are an active participant in this.
right.
So it's a societal norm that's been deeply embedded into our life for a long time. If you talk to someone from Asia or India that studies under Ayurvedic medicine or Chinese medicine, they have a completely different approach to it. They know there's a process involved. They know that they have to be involved with it, and it may not be very fun, and it may take a long time to get there. They know that because it hasn't been imbued into them that it's this instant fix. I take this pill, whatever it means. Thank you, doctor, and I feel better now, right?
But it's cultural, right, from the get-go.
Right.
So yeah, I find that fascinating, and then that's again why Good Fat Life was started.
Right.
It's like, and people will say, well, why good fat? And as I was saying to you, it doesn't matter. It could be movement, it can be massage, it can be anything, but we have to start somewhere.
Well, even in this,
they all benefit us in the totality.
Right. Even this title, Good Fat, we can jump back maybe 10 or at least 20 years and no fat is good fat. Sherry, what are you talking about, right?
It started in the 1950s.
Right. And,
right?
And the deception of that and blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
we won't go into the story, but for those who know,
Right.
But the deception. But the thing is we need fats for our nervous system, for our brain, for our joints.
For our eyes, for our hormones, for, you
All
can
of
go
it.
through all of it.
Right.
We need good fat.
We need good fats.
Right.
In the physical sense of food intake. Right. We need that. But isn't that amazing through the deception of, the experts tell us that we don't need fat. And then what happened? A lot of ill health came out of that.
Or that fat is bad for us.
Right.
Well, some fat is bad for us. That is true.
Yes.
But good fat it's a lifeblood.
Right.
Right.
We need it.
Yeah, we need it.
And so again, that's the deception. It's like
Right.
the broader picture that we're looking at. And so for me, it's, teaching this, getting back to the massage workshop, it's getting people to listen to their own bodies. Because what may be good for you may not be good for someone else, right? And part of my own life journey with this good fat thing is I threw myself into a pretty intense and bad candida infection in my body because I was eating healthy food, but I was eating it unbalanced and without check and without understanding of how I was doing it. So through a healthy diet,
Right.
I threw myself into massive infection.
And we hear these stories all the time. I mean, good fat came around because I had a partner originally on a snack that he just said, in my practice, I see, and he was seeing hundreds of people a week. He said, one of the things that keeps popping up is people aren't eating good fat and they're getting sick.
Right.
Right. But it's not easy, carrying it around, having an avocado or, olives or whatever, good fat piece of salmon is not an easy thing to carry around in our snack happy society.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny, there for a while in my life journey, I was teaching healthy eating classes. And one of them, I had a healthy snacking class that I taught where I had sweet and savory both.
Okay.
And I said, okay, well, what's the definition? Before I even got into it, for my own self-inquiry, what's the definition of a good snack? It's quick, easy, prepared, on the go, pre-packaged, simple, right?
Tastes good.
Tastes good. That's a good one too. How much of that is in nature already, right? Apples, cucumbers, bananas, fruit, right? It's already there. We just need to open it up and consume it, banana, whatever, right? But even into that nuts and seeds and other things like that and dried fruits, and It's easy, it's on the go, it's quick, it's already prepackaged, all of these things, right? And so it was fun having this exploration with people and this dialogue discourse where I had like this buffet of food, and one by one we'd go and sample these things and have conversations about this. And I was trying to open people's mind to healthy snacking. As opposed to grabbing like the Cliff Bar, the obligatory bar of whatever, insert your favorite and pre-processed thing.
And most of those are not good snacks. They're, they're full of, they're totally unbalanced.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a lot more things that are coming on the market.
Yeah. For me, Lara Bar is the one that I buy because it's got like dates, cashews. That's it. Great. Awesome. Right. It's 2 ingredients.
I had a spoonful of full disclosure because I didn't eat breakfast. I had a busy morning and I had a spoonful of almond butter.
Great.
But I feel amazing. Right.
So it's good, healthy fat.
Right. It is good, healthy fat.
Unfortunately, this one managed in my Candida cleanse, my Candida experience, almonds were permissible because they weren't sugar, whatever. And I'm not exaggerating to you, where in that cleanse, I was consuming 1 pound of almond butter in a 24-hour period for multiple weeks and multiple months on end.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
So I developed an allergy to almonds. So it sounds ridiculous, but in my mind, I'm like, well, this is healthy. I'm going to just eat it. And I have like this addiction mentality, like, well, I'm just going to go all in, right? And so I don't recommend this.
Yeah, no.
This is a disclaimer. I did something that I don't want you to do, right? And so, but as a result of that, I developed an allergy to almonds. However, I love them, right? And so it's just like, that was me forever ago. It's like, oh, this is great. Almond on bananas, almond on apples, almond on whatever. Almond. A friend of mine, he doubled down. He goes, okay, this is going to be crazy now, everyone. Take a spoonful of almond butter and a spoonful of honey and and you get a completely radically different experience. It's just awesome because you're getting some good, healthy sugars and all this stuff. The honey, I mean, don't do it in any binge, but just do one, right? And so it's fun to do occasionally as like a sweet snack.
Okay. All right.
I'm not saying do more, not more than one, not more than one. I'm stopping you at one.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been quite an interesting and kind of like all over the place conversation. At the same time, it still comes back to self-massage. So how could people find you?
Other than being in the show notes. So my company name is Illuminate. So on Facebook, I think it's Illuminate333. On Instagram, it's illuminate.ing. My website is my name, Brian M. Truskowski, which I'm sure we'll have in the show notes as well. And yeah, from there. So basically,
okay.
Yeah, that's how to get a hold of me. I have various offerings, and this I know will be too late for this show, but I have various offerings of the self-care massage workshop that I offer, as well as some other things that I teach.
Okay.
Personal growth, self-development stuff. So.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like you obviously have a vast range of knowledge in how our bodies work, which is amazing. And I have a million questions for you. And
episode 2 coming.
Episode 2. And so the thing I do want to ask is, what could you, for somebody who wants to do something like right today, what would be a practical step that you could say to get started with self massage? Yeah,
I mean, other than going back earlier in the show and listening to what we just talked about, finding that spot, that sort of, and loving yourself, right? Taking time out of your day and just either your whole body or the part that bothers you, and at your own pace, if that's at the speed of a very, very, very slow snail or slug or elsewise, slowly move your body, because our bodies are very articulate and have lots of range of motion and articulation. And so with that, whatever thing is bothering you, move that part of your body with curiosity, with play, and with love, and see what's there. And as you're doing it, be curious if any random stories or memories come up from it. And if it does, just allow that, again, think about it, contemplate it, but allow it to just sort of move through and be curious about your experience.
All right. Sounds great.
Does that work?
Yeah, that sounds great. So thank you so much for being here. And before we say goodbye, I just have to do I want to do a quick shout out for CGC Connecticut, water. It is delicious, and they are sponsoring one of the sponsors for our upcoming retreat, which we are so excited about. And the details are on our website. It's November 4th and 5th here in Brighton. But yes, the water is delicious, and and they have water systems for your home, so you can have 24/7 amazing water. So thank you. Okay. Thanks, Brian, for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Sherry. This has been awesome. Yeah. And I just want to say for those listening to me, if you listen to me on other podcasts, typically we go way around the corral. It's hard to keep me pinned into one conversation.
You know what? And that's what's so fun about having the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is where are we going to go?
We don't know. We'll find out when we get there.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Take care.